Welcome to this video on lesson 10.3 about sentiment analysis with the Vader lexicon. Sentiment analyzer. The objective is that students will analyze sentiment in social media text with the Vader sentiment analyzer. It's an easy to use sentiment analyzer that was trained on social media data. So it is slick. Okay. So here's a GitHub repo. You can install it with pip install if you know how to do that. If you don't, then you can go, like we've done many times now, into in PyCharm in your preferences window, go to your project name, project interpreter, +sign. This should all be familiar by this point in the semester. Vader sentiments. There it is right there. Vader sentiment, right? And install the package. Already done so, but I'll just do so again real quick. Good. Done. Okay. And then, so there's some examples on this page as well, on that page we were just at. Let me just jump down to the examples here, code examples. So you can see what they're doing here from this module, from this py file. To be technical, this is a package, this is a module, but anyway, you can see from Vader sentiment, import sentiment intensity analyzer. Okay, then they have some sentences here. And then down here, they create a variable from the function sentiment intensity analyzer, open close parentheses. They save it to a variable name and they start looping over these sentences. And right here, they use that variable name dot polarity underscore scores, and they throw in the text. Okay. And then it gives you back a dictionary with 4 scores, and we just want the compound score. Let me just show you. I'll scroll to the right here. They give you 4 scores back: positive, compound, neutral, negative. Although the order may be different, right? Because dictionaries don't preserve order. The one that we want to look at is compound. And the compound scores, the way to interpret these is that they range from -1 up to 1, and positive scores, that is between 0 and 1, are positive sentiment, and scores between 0 and -1 are negative sentiment. And the closer the score is to 1 or -1, the stronger or the more intense the sentiment is, whether it's positive or negative, right? So if it's right next to 1 or closer to 1, then it's a stronger positive sentiment. If it's closer to -0, then it's a stronger negative sentiment. Okay, so that's how you use this thing, and that's it. It's pretty easy to use. So let's give it a shot. And this is the logic, right? This right here is all the code you need to get the sentiment of a sentence. So the logic is you import from, like I just showed you on their website, you import from their package Vader sentiment dot module Vader sentiment. You import one function, sentiment intensity analyzer. Then you create a variable with that function, sentiment intensity analyzer, open close parentheses, nothing, you don't need to pass anything into that function. To save it to a variable, we're creating an object here. And then we use that object right here, dot polarity scores, and then some text. You save that to a variable, and that variable is actually a dictionary. So then I just want to get the value associated with the key compound. All right, so I'm just going to grab this little bit of code, jump over to PyCharm, jump into my little chalkboard, blackboard, whiteboard, what have you. Here, so there it is. There's the score down there in my console. Let me zoom in there. 0.6114. So this is a positive sentiment. The sentence I use there is "I am happy." And that's that. Just to show you real quick the fact that it gives you other things. I'll just print out the type as well of sent. Let me rerun the script. So it gives you all this, right? And it is a dictionary. The only thing we want to look at is just the compound score right there. So we can just index right into it and get it. So let me just show you a couple here. But this is the practice exercise. Let me just back up. This is the practice exercise here. I'll just, well, if you want to pause the video now and give it a try, using that bit of code on this lesson plan right here, just copy this after you've downloaded Vader Sentiment with capital S and Sentiment, right? One word. After you've downloaded that module, try this. Set up a sentiment analyzer, analyze some short sentences of your own with this bit of code. Okay, so pause the video and give that a try for a few minutes. All right, so yeah, just basically, I'll try, I got some sentences I wrote out right here. I will just grab them and let them all run at the same time. All right, so I just, same thing, what we just saw a second ago, right? Pretty easy to do here. Oops. Let me just run this whole script and see what I got. So I got 0.67, if I round up, for the sentence, I love this time of year, exclamation point. By the way, it is sensitive to exclamation points, so I'll just show you real quick. If I take off the exclamation point, I assume this will go down. Let me just rerun the whole script. Yeah, it goes down a bit. It goes from 0.67 down to 0.64 if I round up without that exclamation point. I like this time of year, got a sentiment compound score of 0.36, right? So still positive, but lower than I love this time of year. And then this one down here, I don't like this time of year, got a negative score of negative 0.28 if I were to round up, right? And then I hate this time of year, went down even farther to negative 0.57. And then everything is awesome from the Lego Man, the Lego movie, 0.66 if I were to round up. So that's it. You just give it a little sentence and you have it give you the compound score. Now, it is best to use sentences at most, just sentences, because in one big long text, like a paragraph or even longer, right, you're going to have positive and negative sentiment in different sentences, or neutral sentiment, right? So you can't you should not, I wouldn't recommend at least, throw a big text into this sentiment analyzer. You should break it up into sentences and throw each sentence in and look at it, maybe get the average score. Okay. So if you need to pause the video and look at my code, go ahead and do so now. Okay, good. Now you need to download 2 files from the CMS. One is called tweets_happy.json, which are tweets with the hashtag happy, 100 tweets with the hashtag happy in them. And then the other one is YouTube comments from Dude Perfect video on YouTube. I got 100 comments below the video. Okay, so download those 2 JSON files to your hard drive. Or if you have some social media language stored in JSON files on your hard drive, you can use your own if you like. But we're going to practice, now we're going to practice looping over comments like tweets or YouTube video comments and getting the sentiment of those. So it says first parse the file with tweets and get the mean compound sentiment score. I have a hint here. There are 100 lines in the file, each line with a JSON object that contains 1 tweet. So it would make sense when you're parsing this file to parse it line by line, right? So you create a connection and then you loop over that connection. So you're looking at one line at a time. By line, I mean hard return, right? And then you convert that one line, the text of that one line, into a dictionary, a Python dictionary with the JSON.loads function. Mind that S there, that means string. It's expecting a string in. So we're going to just parse line by line, and each line will have a JSON object that begins and ends with curly braces that we give to JSON.loads. Say, this is a string, please parse it out so I can have back Python dictionary. Okay, so pause the video and try that for a bit. You know, I actually want you to also get the, yeah, right there, get the mean sentiment score. I said so right there. Got it. Yep. All right, pause the video and give it a try. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look here at how I accomplish this. little task. Okay, so again, I'm going to import JSON as well as statistics. I'm going to use statistics to get the mean score, sentiment score after I've gotten 100 sentiment scores. And then I do this again where I import the sentiment intensity analyzer from the Vader sentiment module there. I create an object and I save it to the variable analyzer. Here I'm going to create a collector list. That's a list. Let me zoom in. That is a list with square brackets. Collector to collect all the sentiment scores from the 100 tweets. Then I open up a connection to the the JSON file tweets_happy.json, which is on my hard drive. I save it to a variable. I save the object, the file object or file handle to a variable, and then I loop over that variable just so I can read line by line. And so here within my for loop, line is going to hold one tweet, one JSON encoded string. It's a string. So I pass that line into json.loads to convert it to a Python dictionary. It'll give me a dictionary back. And then one of the keys of that dictionary is text, which is the actual text of the tweet, the actual language produced by human, right? So I want to get that. And then I throw that text into my analyzer, right? Analyzer, which I created up here on line 5, dot polarity scores. I throw that in there and I get the current sentiment. And then on this list, I append the current sentiment, but just the compound score. I don't want anything more than just the compound score. Okay, so once again, current sentiment on line 12 is actually a dictionary. And you can drill down into that, right, by giving the key of compound. So then it'll go through all the 100 lines, getting all the tweets and all their compound sentiment score into this one list here. And then once that's done, we just throw it into statistics.mean, throw that whole list into it, and it should give us the average sentiment score. And we get an average of 0.62, right? So that's unsurprising. That makes sense, as all of these tweets had the hashtag happy in it. Okay, good. So if you like to pause the video, there's not a whole lot of code happening here. You can see the entirety of the script right there on my screen right now from lines 2 to 15. Okay, this is also in the solution file if you like to look at it there, but you should get something like this working on your computer at this point. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Second, parse the file with YouTube comments and get the mean compound sentiment score from the YouTube comments. The hint here is that this file only has one line in it and it has a big JSON object with all 100 comments in it. So it makes sense to read in the whole file at once with the .read method on the file handle object, and then convert it to a JSON dictionary with the JSON.loads function. This is different from what we did with tweets, right? We're just going to read the whole file in at once with the .read method on that file object. That's what I recommend. Okay, so give that a try. See if you can do that. Ready, set, give it a try. All right, let's take a look at how I do this one. Let's walk through the code a bit here. This is all the same from before, right? Getting the sentiment analyzer, create an object on line 5 that has the sentiment intensity analyzer, right? We create an empty list to be able to put compound scores into. And then here on line 8, we open a connection to the out file, to the file that we pulled into our Python script. That code right there is the ID to the video on YouTube. Actually, I can see now that I need to have a JSON right at the end there. Okay. So this is just create a connection to that file. And then here on line 9, this is where I was talking about reading the whole thing in at once. So on the variable name that's holding the file connection or file handle or file object, I call the .read method, which reads in the whole thing as one big string. And I just save it to a variable called whole file. Then I throw that whole file variable into the JSON.loads function there with an S, which means it's expecting a string. Okay, then after that, I have to drill way down into this dictionary. It's a dictionary. I have to drill way down into it to get at the actual comments. And this was the topic of lesson 10.2. If you need to review 10.2 how to do this, it'd be a good idea to do so. But we're going to loop over this comments. This is a dictionary, and we're going to drill down in a bit to the items key, and the value of the items key is a list. And so we're going to loop over the list with this for loop on line 12. And I'm going to call the variable within the body of the for loop comment. And then you have to drill way down into those comments, like 4 levels of nested dictionaries there to get down to the actual comment text. And then I save it to a variable on line 13. Then I throw that string into the analyzer.polarity scores function, just like in the previous exercise. And then I append it to the collector list, but only the compound score, right? Because current sentiment right now on line 14 is holding a dictionary. I just want the one thing out of there that's associated with the key compound. And then after that's all done, going through all the 100 comments, then we get the average, get the mean sentiment score. Okay, so let me run this and see what happens. And yeah, so the mean sentiment score in the 100 comments below I think it's the first 100 comments was 0.2. So less positive. I mean, it's positive, but the intensity is lower on the positive side of 0. With these comments, it was just a video. Dude Perfect is a YouTube group, and they made a show, their overtime show. Anyway, so it's not as the positive sentiment is not as intense as the 100 tweets with the hashtag #happy. That makes sense to me, that you're going to get a lower intensity of positive comments, but they are still on average positive. Okay, so if you like to look at this bit of code, I'll make it viewable here. Yeah, from line 2 down to 17 does all of that. Again, this is in my solution file if you'd like to look at it there on the CMS. All right. So that is a quick rundown of how to do sentiment analysis with the Vader Sentiment Analyzer. So at this point, you should be able to do it, or at least see how to do it. If you need to review the video, practicing some more to really get it down, you should do so. Okay, I'll just point out there are other sentiment analyzers out there, but the Vader Lexicon, this Vader Sentiment Analyzer, is really easy to use. And it does a really good job with social media text. So, okay, so that is it for this lesson 10.3. Thank you so much. See you next time.